You're watching All 24 News World News Program, and up next are tonight's top stories. New strikes across Gaza break the ceasefire, leading to dozens of casualties. Hamas accuses the occupation of expanding its operations to restart the war. In our news tonight as well, President Tebboune visits Constantine, inaugurating development projects amid a large popular welcome. Also coming up, international activists are praising the Sahrawi struggle and calls grow to push Spain to support Sahrawi cause against Morocco. And later on, Trump approves the Ukraine peace plan. The Kremlin wants root causes addressed, and the EU says the peace plan needs European and Ukrainian backing. Welcome back. First off, in our news tonight, 33 Palestinians, including 12 children and women, were killed and dozens wounded in Zionist airstrikes on Gaza City and Khan Yunis. Health officials say 12 people died in a strike on the Zaytun neighborhood, and 2 others were killed in separate attacks on Shujaiya neighborhood as well. In Khan Yunis, 13 more Palestinians, among them 4 children and 4 women, were killed, with many more others injured. The government media office in Gaza says Zionist forces escalated again after Wednesday's massacre in Gaza City and Khan Yunis, which killed 24 or 25 Palestinians, including an entire family. It says a new massacre was carried out Thursday, with the occupation expanding the yellow zone east of Gaza City in clear violation of the ceasefire, a move the office blames on the continued silence of the mediators.
The occupation was not content with this crime. It carried out a new assault and a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement by advancing into the eastern area of Gaza City and altering the positions of the yellow markers, expanding the area under the occupation's control. What encouraged the occupation to continue these crimes and violations of the ceasefire is the silence of the mediators and guarantors, and their failure to take serious steps to compel the occupation to fulfill its obligations, foremost among them stopping its crimes against our people and allowing the entry of all types of essential living needs, whether food, shelter, health, or infrastructure.
Hamas is condemning Thursday's Zionist airstrikes on Gaza City and Khan Yunis, calling them a dangerous escalation and a resumption of war of extermination. In a statement, the group called on mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey to pressure Israel to cease its violations. Hamas also urged the Trump administration to fulfill its commitments and force the occupation to respect the ceasefire. On International Children's Day, Palestinian children in Gaza and the occupied West Bank face their darkest reality as Zionist attacks continue to strip them of food, medicine, and water in violation of international norms. Nabil Khazini with the story.
This is where once there were homes, laughter, and the innocent joy of childhood. But now there is only silence, broken by the sound of children walking through the ruins of the shattered world. For these children, the war is not a distant memory. It is their everyday nightmare. They had no choice in this conflict. They were born into it, and they have watched as everything they knew slowly crumbled around them. Haya Arafat, just 16 years old, stands beside the ruins of her house, where her family's memories lie buried beneath layers of concrete. The house that once protected their joy now holds only sorrow.
I miss our warm home, the family gatherings, and our laughter. I miss our school, when my siblings and I used to walk there together happily, laughing on the way. But now, everything has changed. I will continue my education alone and live my life alone and do everything alone without my family. It will be difficult, but I will try.
She is like many children here in Gaza who are alone, not by choice, but because of a war that has taken their families, their homes, and their future.
بدل ما نعيش حياة.
Instead of living a normal childhood, we are those ones filling water, going to the community kitchen to get food, and collecting firewood. We hope to live a normal life like children around the world.
The United Nations estimates that in the last 2 years, a staggering number of 64,000 children have reportedly been killed or severely injured across the Gaza Strip, including at least 1,000 babies. More than 130 children have died from malnutrition and dehydration, their small bodies unable to withstand the collapse of Gaza's food and health systems. Doctors say many of them arrived at clinics weighing half of what a healthy child their age should weigh, some too weak even to cry. Those who survive hunger face another battle, the lack of medical care. Hospitals that once healed are now barely functioning, overwhelmed, under-resourced or destroyed. UNICEF warns that tens of thousands of children urgently need life-saving medical treatment. In Gaza, children will grow up learning to live with prosthetics, wheelchairs, and scares, both seen and unseen, trying somehow to imagine a future beyond the rubble.
Iran's foreign ministry condemned the Zionist aggression on Lebanese territory, calling it a clear violation of the UN Charter and international law. Spokesman Ismail Baghaei denounced attacks on Sidon and Ain al-Hilwa camp near a mosque and sports hall and urged the UN and the international community to act and hold the perpetrators accountable. All the way to Algeria now. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune arrived in Constantine on Thursday for a working visit. He received a massive welcome where thousands of citizens lined the main street to show appreciation for new development projects in the province. President Tebboune greeted the crowds who had gathered from across the region. On Thursday, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune met with civil society representatives in Constantine. He heard their concerns and proposals on supporting the state's efforts to advance development in the province. During his visit to Constantine, President Tebboune inaugurated a new road connecting National Route 3 to East-West Highway. President of the Republic has laid the foundation stone for a new 500-bed university hospital in Constantine. The 20-hectare facility will feature 24 specialized departments and a teaching wing for 1,000 students. It will be equipped with the latest medical technology. From Constantine, President Tebboune has ordered the creation of specialized hospitals for advanced medical fields. During a ceremony for a new university hospital, he emphasized the need for healthcare hubs dedicated to specialties like neurology and cardiology, stating this will strengthen the national health system. The president also highlighted medical partnerships with countries like Germany, saying Algeria will receive the necessary assistance to advance its expertise. Additionally, President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, inaugurated a new pharmaceutical complex in Constantine on Thursday. The 27,000 square meter facility produces respiratory inhalers, ENT medicines, soft capsules, and cancer drugs, creating over 500 jobs. President Tebboune toured its production units during the visit. President Abdelmajid Tebboune has laid the foundation stone for a major new sports complex in Constantine. The facility will feature a football stadium, training pitches, a 3,000-seat Olympic swimming pool. It will also include a multi-sports hall, tennis courts, and parking lot for 3,500 vehicles. President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, laid the foundation of 8,050 ideal 3-housing units in Constantine, marking a key step in the rollout of the presidential housing program. Miriam Zina reports now.
In implementation of his commitments to the Algerian people and to uphold the country's social foundations, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has placed housing at the heart of his agenda. Since his election, he has pledged that no citizen would be denied access to dwelling, assuring that the housing crisis would be resolved once and for all segments of society. For him, this is a non-negotiable promise. Following the rapid pace of construction and project delivery across Algerian cities, President Tebboune launched in 2024 the third program of the National Agency for Housing Improvement and Development, ADIA 3, following which over 1 million applicants confirmed their registration. According to figures released by the Housing Ministry, the 2026 finance law provides for 296.3 billion Algerian dinars in commitment authorizations and 488.9 billion dinars in payment credits, resources allocated to building more than 1,030,000 housing units across different categories. Reflecting the importance of the housing sector in President Tebboune's program, the Ministry of Housing, Urban Planning and the City reports that between 2020 and 2024, Algeria delivered 1.7 million housing units. The president's plan goes even further, targeting the construction of 2 million additional units by 2029.
Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune paid tribute to the late scholar Abdelhamid ibn Badis and met his grandchildren before starting his working visit to Constantine. Representing President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Algerian Prime Minister Sefi Gharieb arrived in Johannesburg in South Africa to participate in the proceedings of the G20 summit scheduled between 22nd and 23rd of the current month. It's worth noting that Algeria is the guest of honor of this year's edition of the summit. Algeria's UN Ambassador Ammar Benjama called on the Security Council to double efforts and resources to combat terrorism in Africa. He warned that terrorist groups in the Sahel are taking advantage of gaps in strategy and funding. Benjama stressed that terrorism threatens security, undermines development, and highlights a growing crisis of international solidarity.
The terrorism threat in Africa is acute, currently accounting for more than 50% of terrorism incidents and victims globally. Especially, the security situation across West Africa and the Sahel remains deeply troubling, marked by expanding attacks perpetrated by the Al-Qaeda-affiliated جماعة نصرة الإسلام والمسلمين, ISIS Sahel, ISIS West Africa, Boko Haram, among others.
Mr. Benjama said that during its Counterterrorism Committee chairmanship, Algeria drew on its own experience fighting terrorism, emphasizing that the fight must start by addressing its root causes.
We confronted terrorism alone, yes, alone, during a long and dark decade. Finally, we have defeated this scourge, but only through national resilience. Resilience of Algerian and especially women. This taught us that security measures alone never defeat terrorism.
Turning to other news, foreign participants at the 3rd International Solidarity Forum for Cultural Exchange for Peace in Western Sahara, held in Samarra, expressed solidarity with the Sahrawi people, praising their patience and resilience. U.S. humanitarian representatives welcomed the forum's focus on humanitarian values and the harmony it fostered among participants from diverse backgrounds.
We stand with people of courage, people of hope, people who have known suffering and yet still believe in peace. We are gathered here in this place that has witnessed both pain and resistance under the theme of solidarity and love. These are not just beautiful words. They are a call to remember who we are and who we were meant to be.
The head of the Algerian delegation, Youssef Meshriya, has reiterated Algeria's firm support for the Sahrawi cause. He stressed that the Sahrawi people alone have the right to decide their own future.
We gather in this human space, in the Sahrawi camps, not as a passing presence, nor as a purely protocol participation, but as a stance, a commitment, and a humanitarian message rooted in our religious, cultural, and civilizational values. We meet today amid regional and international developments surrounding our cause, the cause of the Sahrawi people. After half a century, 50 years of steadfastness and suffering, 50 years during which the Sahrawi people have awaited a just decision, 50 years in which, unfortunately, some decisions and some councils have failed to properly hear the voice of the Sahrawi people. For the unchanging truth remains, the Sahrawi people alone have the right to decide their own destiny.
Spanish political parties have voiced support for the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination, calling for continued mobilization until final victory. Podemos Catalonia highlighted Morocco's 1975 invasion and occupation of Western Sahara, aimed at blocking Sahrawi independence, and urged Spanish citizens and organizations to step up support for the cause.
Morocco's invasion of Western Sahara in the autumn of 1975 and its military occupation aimed at preventing the Sahrawi people from establishing their independent state ignited a conflict that continues to this day. The Sahrawi people, led by the Polisario Front, declared the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic in 1976 and resisted the Moroccan occupation forces with courage and resilience, inspiring broad international solidarity, including sympathy and support from a large part of progressive society. The Moroccan monarchy, which stands in contradiction to democratic principles, has opposed holding a referendum in Western Sahara and dedicates itself to buying influence and votes. We must fully engage in mobilization, supporting the Sahrawi cause until final victory is achieved.
The European Parliament's Agriculture Committee is set to discuss an EU Commission proposal on labelling products from occupied Western Sahara. The amendment focuses on ensuring imported goods clearly indicate their country of origin when entering the European market. To another global story now, the White House reports that President Donald Trump quietly approved a peace plan for Russia and Ukraine earlier this week. The plan, crafted with input from U.S. officials and Russian and Ukrainian representatives, aims to provide security guarantees to both sides to secure lasting peace.
The president and his national security team are steadfast in seeing this war come to an end, to end the killing and deliver on the president's promise. Special Envoy Witkoff, Marco Rubio, have been working on a plan quietly for about the last month. They've been engaging with both sides, Russia and Ukraine, equally to understand what these countries would commit to in order to see a lasting and durable peace.
The Kremlin said any peace plan for Ukraine must tackle the conflict's root causes. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov added that while contacts with the United States have taken place, no negotiations are currently underway, and he did not confirm if President Putin has been briefed on the proposed plan.
Any time is the best for a peaceful settlement, for a settlement by peaceful political and diplomatic means. Russia remains open for this settlement. A settlement must lead to the elimination of the root causes of this conflict. This is what we say time and again.
The European Union says any plan to end the war in Ukraine must have the backing of both Ukrainians and Europeans to succeed. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kai Kallas stated that the bloc is focused on a lasting and just peace, welcoming any efforts to end a conflict that negatively affects everyone.
What we as Europeans have always supported is a long-lasting and just peace, and we welcome any efforts to achieve that. Of course, for any plan to work, it needs Ukrainians and Europeans on board, so this is very clear.
German Foreign Minister Johann Würfel said U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff emphasized the need for close coordination with Europe in efforts to end the war in Ukraine. Würfel also spoke with Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan and both stressed working closely with Germany and European partners to halt Russia's war and ease the humanitarian crisis.
Und deswegen gilt natürlich auch für die Zukunft.
And that is why, of course, for the future, all negotiations about the ceasefire, about any further peaceful development of Ukraine, can only be discussed and negotiated with Ukraine, and Europe will have to be included. We're all in the same page here, and I want to reiterate once again, we welcome any initiative that is taken to get into a negotiation mode. But the first prerequisite is that Vladimir Putin ends his war of aggression against Ukraine, that we come to a ceasefire without any preconditions, and that then there can be fair negotiations. This is the only way forward, and this is the only way a reliable peace can be achieved.
Hungary calls on the European Union to stop financial aid to Ukraine. Foreign Minister Peter Siarto cited new corruption reports that led to the dismissal of 2 Ukrainian ministers, alleging a war mafia is running a corrupt system within the country. He argued that it's illogical for the European Commission to demand an additional 100 billion euros package given the lack of financial transparency. His comments follow an investigation that uncovered a $100 million corruption scheme. And that brings us to the end of our news program for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.